Yeah, I mean, I just came back in the room right now, so.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Good. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, we're going to just continue. We'll just start over because I don't know where you did it, left off.
At the end of the page, you was explaining some.
Yeah, inshallah. I'll just reread it real quick, no problem. والدليل الرغبة والرهبة والخشوع والدليل الرغبة والرهبة والخشوع. And as we said, الرغبة is a synonym for الرجاء, والرهبة is a synonym for خوف, والخشوع and humbleness or humility. The dalil for that, قوله تعالى, is his statement, the Most High, إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات. They used to rush في الخيرات, in performing good actions. ويدعوننا, and they would call on us, رغبة ورهبة, out of hope and fear. وكانوا لنا خاشعين, and they were towards us humble, right? The Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Qasim, he says, وَكَذَلِكَ الرَّغْبَةُ وَالرَّهْبَةُ, and likewise الرَّغْبَةُ and الرَّهْبَةُ. الْإِنسَانُ يَرْغَبُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا يَرْجُوهُ. الْإِنسَانُ, the mankind, يَرْغَبُ, they hope, مِنَ اللَّهِ, from Allah, مَا يَرْجُوهُ, what they basically hope for. This is from the word raja, showing us that raja and raghab are synonyms. وَيَرْهَبُ, and they fear, minhu an-nar, they fear from him the fire. وَيَرْهَبُ min iqabihi, and they fear from his punishment. From ayn, qaf, ba, iqab, his punishment. وَكُلُّهُ مِنْ أَنْوَاعِ الْعِبَادَةِ, and all of them are from the types of ibadah. Min is harf jar, making anwa majroor. Ibadah is majroor because it's mudaf ilayh. And this is all, I was saying that this is all the Sheikh says. This is all he says. He only says this, he doesn't mention anything else. So therefore, what's the difference between ar-raja and ar-raghba? And I was saying before whatever audio complication we had, that I have a book compiled by Fahad ibn Badi al-Marshadi called Al-Mahsul Al-Jami' Li-Shuruh Thalathat-ul-Usul, which is just basically he collected a bunch of different explanations from the scholars and put them into one explanation. And inside of here, it gets into some nice detail where he talks about the difference between these. So, ar-raja is to hope for something, as we learned yesterday. For instance, you make dua for entering into Jannah, and while you're hoping and waiting for Allah to enter you into Jannah, then that is another type of worship. So the dua, O Allah, enter me into Jannah, is a worship. O Allah, heal me or heal my son, that's a worship. And then while you're waiting for the entrance into Jannah, hoping that he's going to enter you, that is a worship. And that while you're hoping and waiting for your son to be healed or for you to be healed and cured, that is another worship. The dua itself is a worship, and the waiting and the hoping from Allah is a worship. That's ar-raja. Ar-raghba is the same thing, except we're going to add to that actions. We're going to add to that action. So not only do you hope from Allah the entrance into Jannah, but you're also going to do certain things to hopefully increase the opportunity or the chances of that taking place. So you're going to make your sunnahs, you're going to make all your prayers in the masjid, you're going to memorize Quran, so on and so forth. You're going to have this hope, and then you're going to do actions along with that hope. And ar-rahba has the same thing from fear. So al-khawf is where you fear something. You fear Allah, or you fear His punishment, or you fear the person in the grave, or you fear the lion, right? But it's not necessarily that you do anything about it. A rahba is that you do something about it. So you fear Allah and you do actions to try to remove you from His punishment, to try to remove you from the nar. You fear the person in the grave, and you don't just fear him and you're not just scared of what he's going to do to you, but rather you also do things to hopefully he doesn't get mad at you, right? Or the same thing from the lion. You fear the lion, but you don't just sit there and, bite, chatter your teeth and bite your nails and sweat thinking he's going to eat you. Rather, you try to put a cage in between you and him. You try to throw him some meat to the other corner. Whatever it is, you try to do some actions. It's not just fear. It's not just hope, but rather you also do some actions that will benefit or complement that fear and that hope. Is that clear?
No.
That's the only thing he brings. Then he says on the next page, wal khushu', that's humility and humbleness, like you want in a prayer. When you stand before Allah, you want to stand there humble. You don't want to be contemplating and concentrating on other things. Rather, you want to sit there humbly in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. The next thing he brings is al-khashya. Al-khashya. وَالدَّلِيلُ الْخَشْيَةِ, which is another type of fear. Another synonym for al-khawf wa-rahba. Right? Al-khashya. وَالدَّلِيلُ الْخَشْيَةِ مضاف مضاف إليه قوله تعالى. His statement, the Most High, فَلَا تَخْشَوْهُمْ وَخْشَوْنِي. And do not fear him. Originally, this was takhshawun, right? But because of the la here being the prohibition, we dropped our noon, we added an alif to protect our waw. But because we have the ha-mim, the pronoun hum here, and we don't need our alif, we just say la takhshawhum. Do not fear them. Wakhshawni, but fear me. Wakhshawni is a command, right? Wakhshawni. Do not fear them, but fear me. Kadhalika al-khashya. That's all Sheikh Abdul Muslim Qasim said. He said, Kadhalika al-khashya.
Alhamdulillah.
Yarhamakallah. He says, likewise al-khashya. That's all he said. Alright? Now, what's the difference between al-khawf wa-raghba al-rahba, rather, al-rahba and al-khashya? Al-khashya is the same thing. You fear Allah, right? You do actions, and along with doing so, you do so based upon knowledge of what you are fearing and ta'zeeman lah, and having this type of respect and honor and magnifying that thing. Right? So if a person fears a lion, does he magnify it? Does he have like a respect for that animal, like like a veneration, a reverence or a veneration for the animal? No, he doesn't do that. Right? But with Allah Azza wa Jal, wallahi, I know Allah, He created the Jahannam. It's got 70,000 chains, and every chain has this, and angels and blah, and there are 19 angels over it, and Jannah has 8 gates, and so when you have this, knowing who it is, and Allah, He has no defects or shortcomings. Whatever He puts in front of us is with knowledge and hikmah and all of that. That is khashya, that you fear Allah and that you do actions to prevent His punishment and His fire, and at the same time you reverence Him, or you venerate Him, or you have this ta'zeem ta'zeem lahu. You have this magnification of him. So this is the word khashya, based upon knowledge of who he is. Based upon knowledge of who he is and what he can do and what he has in store for the people, then you fear him based upon that knowledge. And you reverence him, as you know, if we can say it like that, right? So that is the difference between al-khawf wa-rahba and al-khashya. Any questions?
لا لا.
Let's read that much then, inshallah, and we will then continue from underneath there. Fadl Abdullah.
وَتَلِلُّ والرحبة والخشوع قوله تعالى إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا ورغبا or should I say رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين كذلك رهبة ورهبة الإنسان يرغب من الله ما يحجوه ويحب منه النار ويحب من إنقاذه وكله من أنواع العبادة ودليل الخشية قوله تعالى فلا تخشوهم واخشوني كذلك الخشية.
يلا عباس سمية.
ودليل الرغبة ورهبة وخشوع قوله تعالى إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين كذلك الرغبة والرهبة الإنسان يرغب من الله ما يرجوه ويرهب منه النار ويرهب من عقابه وكله من أنواع العبادة ودليل الخشية قوله تعالى فلا تخشوهم واخشوني وذلك الخشية.
طيب. Okay, how many types of ibadah have we mentioned so far?
Like 10.
10. All right. What are they? Without looking in your book.
Salat.
No, he hasn't mentioned salat.
No, Iman, Ihsan,
Al-Islam.
Islam,
Al-Iman, Al-Ihsan. That's 3. Al-Khawf.
Al-Raja.
Rabba, and Khushua,
Rahaba,
and Tawakkul.
Okay, that's 8. So we're missing 2.
You sure?
Yeah.
Tawakkul.
Okay, tawakkul is 9.
And then you say, did you get khawf?
Yeah. Al-Khawf wal-Raja wal-Khushu' wal-Raghba wal-Rahba wal-Tawakkul.
I say Khushu'.
Yeah, we said that. Khushu'. Oh, that's actually 11 then. right? Because we had 7 and we did Raghaba, wa Rahaba, wal Khushu', that's 10. Al Khasha is 11.
Yeah.
So we're still missing one.
We missing one?
Yeah. Okay. Al Islam, Al Iman, Al Ihsan.
Mm-hmm.
Then he mentioned one. The main one. He said this one, it is ibadah. He brought a hadith. This one is ibadah.
Dua.
الدعاء.
Yeah, dua.
الدعاء هو العبادة.
مخ العبادة.
Yeah. He brought the hadith الدعاء مخ العبادة. But Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Qasim, he showed us that this hadith in the Tirmidhi is da'if. But in the Sunan Abi Dawood, the hadith which is authentic, الدعاء هو العبادة. Right? Then we had al-khawf wal-raja wal-tawakkul. Right? That gave us 7. Right? Ad-du'a wal-khawf wal-raja wal-tawakkul. That we did those. Then today we had al-raghba wal-rahba wal-khushu' wal-khashya. That's 11. Right? Now the importance of all this, and I know we're reading Arabic, but I said constantly that we should be reading this book over and over and understanding it. And that is because this book, it says in the beginning that it's obligatory upon us to learn these things. It's obligatory upon every Muslim, male and female, to learn these things. Not necessarily in the detail where we have to memorize these 17 things and the ayat for everyone or the hadith for everyone, but these things we have to know. These things are the basics of Islam. These are the basics of Islam, and so therefore it's important for us to learn these. So we had 2 other things. I'm scared to ask you about those. Like, what's the definition of Tawheed? What's the definition of Shirk? Which Abdul Muslim al-Qasim said, if we come out with that alone, then we've come out with the main part of the book, right? So we should be knowing what this definition of Tawheed is, right? Ifradullahi bil ibadah, to single out Allah with worship, right? Right? And a shirk, you should be knowing what is the definition of shirk, right? Anyway,
worship alone.
A shirk is to associate partners with Allah, right? But what is it in Arabic? That's the quiz question, right? We figure it out. Go back and read it. Go back and find it. It's important for us to know this, right? It's important for us to know these definitions. It's important for us to learn this. Now, I said inside of this definition, I said a long time ago that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, inside this small book, is very small. He brings more than 70 evidences. Now, I started studying this book last night with Sheikh Abu Salat. He has a Dawra going on. He started with this book. So while I was sitting there waiting for the class, I started counting the evidences. And I found 64 or 65 different evidences that he used. Now, some of those evidence have more than one ayat. Maybe that's why he said more than 70. But basically, individual evidences, he brings 64. And then if you want to count the statements of Ibn Kathir, Al-Shafi, Al-Baghawi, Al-Bukhari, like this, then there are 69, I believe, evidences, 68 or 69 evidences that he brings, statements that are his own. So if we were to memorize these evidences, right, then we memorize most of the book, because every short page has one. If you use the little pocket books, every page has 1, 2, or 3 evidences on it. So there's no other words. If you memorize the ayat, you memorize the hadith, then wallah, you've memorized the majority of the book. Right? So it's important for us to go over this book over and over and over until you become so familiar. We had the brothers, when they were here for the Dawra, they went to Sheikh Salim, and one of the brothers asked, how could a person go back and review what we took during the Dawra? And the Sheikh said, go and read it, read other explanations of the book, and just keep reading it read 2, 3, 4, 5 different explanations, or just keep reading it until you have a mastery over the subject. If you're not able to memorize the book, then keep reading it until you have a mastery over the book. At least you know what's in it and where it's at and what comes first and what comes last and so on and so forth. And this is what we should be doing with this book. So it shouldn't be a problem for us to say that the types of ibadah mentioned are al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan, al-Du'a, al-Khawf, wal-Raja, wal-Tawakkul, al-Raghbah, wal-Rahbah, wal-Khushu', wal-Khashya, in order. And then we learn this and we know it. What is the makeup of the book? Let's just keep reading it. What is shirk? What is tawheed? So on and so forth. The next part, he says, the 12th category, the 12th type of ibadah, right, is al-inaba. Al-inaba. What dalilul inaba? Inaba comes from the root nun waw ba. Nun waw ba, right? And basically it means repentance, like the word toba, and he's going to explain for us the difference here, inshallah ta'ala. Al-inaba is like a turning in repentance, not just repentance, but a turning in repentance. Wa dalilul inabati qawluhu ta'ala. The evidence for this inaba is his statement, the Most High. Wa anibu ila rabbikum wa aslimu lahu. And turn to your Lord in repentance and submit to him. Wa anibu. This is a command. Aslimu is a command to a group of people. Right? Wa anibu ila rabbikum wa aslimu lahu. And turn to your Lord in repentance. Rabbikum, because of ila, wa aslimu lahu, and submit to him. He says, wal inabatu manzilatun a'la min at-tawbah. A'la. Here we have this hamza there showing that it is higher, right? Like a'zam, ahsan, akbar, right? Superlative form. A'la min at-tawbah. Al-inaba has a station, manzila, a'la min at-tawbah, higher than tawbah. فَمَنْ نَابَ إِلَى اللَّهِ. So whoever repented to Allah, or turned to Allah in repentance. Naba, right? Whoever did this, inaba, ilallah. Ma'nahu, its meaning, ba'da an taba. You're going to have to get the whole paragraph maybe to make it make sentence. Its meaning, ba'da an taba. Inaba, basically, is after someone made tawbah. Right? After someone made tawbah. Mithalu dhalik. Mithalu dhalik. Example of that. لو أن شخصا مثلا يسرق. يسرق. Low is if. Anna means that. And shakhs is mansub after anna. Low, and if a person, mathalan, for example, yasriku. Let me make sure it's yasriku.
Now you said
Yasruku. Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
you said methylene
Mathalan.
with the fatha, methylene.
Mathalan, yes.
Oh, methylene, methylene.
No, there's mithlu,
Okay.
and mathalan.
Okay, that's one messing up. Okay.
Right. Let me make sure. Yes, yasriku, yasriku with a kasr on the ra. Yasriku. Yasriku. He steals. From saraqa yasriku, to steal. So a person, for example, steals. Fataraka as-sarika. Fataraka as-sarika. Sarika. Right? He left stealing. Right? What did he leave? Stealing. Maf'ulun bihi mansub. There's a fatha on that ta marbuta. Right? He left stealing. Fataraka sarika. So he left stealing. Hadihi tawbah. This is tawbah. A person stopped stealing. He used to steal. He stopped stealing. Lo anna shakhsan mathalan yasriku. So a person, for example, he steals. Fataraka sarika. And he left stealing. Hadihi tawbah. This is tawbah. فَإِذَا تَلَا الْقُرْآنِ. So if, right? So if, or when, tala, right? Tala, which you would look up under ta, lam, wow.
Yeah.
No.
You would look up under ta, lam, wow. You would look it up under there, right? In a dictionary.
Not,
Meaning
okay,
to recite. Huh?
like you find out, yeah?
No, you're not going to find it under the ya. You're going to find it under the wow.
Okay, wow.
Tilawatul Quran.
Right? Exactly. Like Abu Sumayya said, Tilawatul Quran. So for instance, فَإِذَا تَلَا الْقُرْآنِ. So then if he went and recited the Quran, right? He began reading it and reciting the Quran. وَأَصْبَحَ. وَأَصْبَحَ. أَصْبَحَ. Right? Like from the
Why
word.
not ask for who?
No, because it's a past tense verb.
Okay.
And past tense verbs are mibni al-fath. Right?
Okay.
Wa asbaha, this is form 4 of sadbaha. Like sabahul khair. Asbaha meaning to become. Right? Asbaha meaning to become something. Right? Wa asbaha yusalli an-nawafila. Yusalli an-nawafila. He began, or he becomes where he prays the nawafil prayers, the nafil, the noon, fa, lam, nafila, the extra prayers. Right? Hada amalun, amalu at-ta'ati. This is amalu ta'ati. This is performance or doing of an act of obedience. Ba'da dhanb. Ba'da dhanb. After the sin. Inabatun. That's what this is. This amal. Hada amalu ta'ati. Ba'da dhanb. Inaba. This performance of an act of obedience after the sin. This is inaba. Right? So the person just leaves off the sin and stops, then this is tawbah. But when he goes and does more than that and increases in his actions, similar to a raghbah wa rahbah, right? That you take on actions. Then this is al-inaba. Lidhalika, due to that, lidhalika, basically for that reason, or due to that, Allah, Allahu, the fa'il here, Azza wa Jal yaqulu, Allahu yaqulu, Allah, he says, illa man taba wa amana wa amila salihan. He says, except for whoever repents, right? Repents, wa amana, and he believes, وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and he does righteous actions. Right? So now taba was the leaving off of the sin, intending not to do it again, feeling remorse, all of that. But the inaba is the amana وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. وَالْمَقْصُود, the intention, al-marad, is another word that we have for this. Al-maqsood, al-marad, al-inaba. Right? This is what he meant here. This taba is tawbah. The amana wa amila salihan, that is inaba. That is turning to Allah after. Not only did you stop and feel bad, but you turned towards Allah to try to make up for it and do better. Bal ba'du ahlil ilm. Ba'du ahlil ilm. Ba'du is a word. It means some. Make sure we don't confuse it with a dal. Ba'da. Ba'da is after. Ba'du is some. Bal ba'du ahlil ilmi. Rather, some of the people of knowledge. Sharata. Sharata. Fi at-tawbah. Fi at-tawbah. They made a condition. Sharata is to make a condition. A condition is called a shart. Like I do it on condition of this. The plural of shurut. Like the shurut of salat, right? The conditions for salat. Tahara, satr al-awra, covering the awra, the entrance of the time, dukhul al-waqt, so on and so forth, right? These are conditions for the salat to be accepted. The sharata fi tawbah, they made a condition in tawbah. Wujud al-inaba ba'da tawbah. The wujud, the existence, from waw, jim, dal, wajada, yajidu. The existence of inaba ba'da at-tawbah, after repentance. So to have this extra, some people made it a condition for the tawbah to be accepted, that you have inaba. It's not enough that you just feel bad, rather you also have to go and turn your life around. فَلَا تَكْفِي التَّوْبَةِ. So, فَلَا تَكْفِي. Takfi from kafa, kafa, ya, meaning to be sufficient. فَلَا تَكْفِي التَّوْبَةِ. So, tawbah itself is not sufficient. Bal inaba. Rather, this inaba must be done. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا وَأَصْلَحُوا. Except those who repent, tabu, وَأَصْلَحُوا, and they rectify. Aslahu, they rectify their actions or whatever it is, right? Any questions?
Yeah.
So now we reached our number 12, right? We have al-Islam, al-Iman, al-Ihsan, al-Du'a, al-Khawf, al-Raja, al-Tawakkul, al-Raghba, al-Rahba, al-Khushu', al-Khashya, al-Inaba. Read for us, Ya Aba Sumayya.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ودليل الإنابة قوله تعالى: وأنيبوا إلى ربكم وأسلموا له. والإنابة منزلة أعلى من توبته. فمن ناب إلى الله معناه بعد أن تاب. مثال ذلك: لو أن شخصا مثلا يسرق وترك سرقته أو سرقته فترك السرقة، هذه توبة. فإذا تلا القرآن وأصبح يصلي نوافل، هذا عمل الطاعة بعد الذنب إنابة. لذلك الله عز وجل يقول: إلى من تاب وآمن وعمل صالحا. المقصود الإنابة. بل بعد أهل العلم شرط. Is it شرط or شرط?
شرط.
شرط.
شرط في توبة في توبة وجود الإنابة بعد التوبة، فلا تقضي التوبة بل إنابة إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا.
نعم يلا عبد الله.
ودليل الإنابة قوله تعالى وأنيبوا ونائبوا إلى ربكم وأسلموا له. والإنابة منزلة أحلى من التوبة، فما باب إلا الله ومعناه بعد أن تاب. مثال ذلك لو أن شخصا مثلا يسرق فترك السرقة، هذه توبة. فإذا تلا القرآن وأصبح يصلي النوافل، هذا أمل الطاعة بعد الذنب. إنابة لذلك الله عز وجل يقول إلا من تاب وآمن وعمل صالحا. المقصود الإنابة، بل بعد أهل العلم شرط في التوبة وجود الإنابة بعد التوبة، فلا تكفي التوبة بل إنابة إلى الذين تابوا وأصلحوا.
Okay, 2 questions before we leave, inshallah ta'ala. فإذا تلا القرآن, what goes on this noon here?
I'm going to say Kesra.
It should be فتحة. وإذا تلا القرآن.
Okay, Abdullah answered first. I'm going to say, what is the meaning of Tala al-Quran? Abdullah.
You said recite.
Recite the Quran. Does that have a possessive sense to it? Is there possession inside that? Reciting the Quran? Is there possession in there? No. Right? We're not recitation of the Quran. Tala is a verb. It's not a noun. It's reciting the Quran, not reciting recitation of the Quran or his recitation or something like that, right? Rather, it's a verb. Tala al-Quran. Right? So by meaning, فَإِذَا تَلَا الْقُرْآنِ. So if he recites the Quran, not so his recitation of the Quran, that would be mudaf ilayh, and you could put a kasr there. But if you say Tala al-Quran, he recites the Quran, it's as Abu Sumayya said, Tala al-Qur'ana, because it is the object of his tala, right? His tala is the Quran. What was he reciting? He was reciting the Quran. Clear?
No.
Okay, the next thing. What goes on the ta marbuta and tawbah? Fala takfi at tawbah.
I might be wrong again, but I'm going to say Kesra because of the fee.
But fee
It's
is not a
word.
separate word, though, Abdullah. Fee is not a separate word. It's part of the
فلا تكفي توبة.
What do you say, Abu Sumayya?
Because with Kasra.
توبة is not sufficient. فلا تكفي توبتي.
What Toba? Say it clear. Your voice is kind of muffled a little bit. That's why I'm asking.
فلا تكفي توبتي.
Naam. Toba too. Right? Toba is not sufficient. Right?
No.
So it's basically your fa'il here. فَلَا تَكْفِي التَّوْبَةُ. Toba is not sufficient. Right? If for instance you say Muhammad is not sufficient or Ahmed is not sufficient. Like this, right? That's like the fa'il there. فَلَا تَكْفِي تَوْبَةُ بَلْ إِنَابَةٌ. Right? Just want to check that. Inshallah ta'ala. I'm not starting class tomorrow unless one of y'all can tell me what the definition of shirk is.
Inshallah, we'll try.
If you could tell me the definition of shirk in Arabic from the book, right? It's just like 3-4 words. If you can tell me the definition of shirk from the book, then we'll start it tomorrow, inshallah. Meaning tomorrow morning in class, I'll be here, and if one of y'all could tell me the definition of shirk, then then we'll go on.
Let me try it now.
Don't worry about it, Abu Sumayya. I'm gonna have that down. You know.
Let me say something now.
Okay.
And Yahudu min dunillah. And Yahudu ilaha min dunillah.
Is that from the book?
From my head.
From the book. It's easy.
Yeah, I know it's easy from the book. I'm just trying to give the definition from what I understand about it.
Yeah. But and sometimes we're right. And sometimes this is why you see stuff like when Allah talks about as-siratul mustaqim or something like, what is the sirat, or what is like this, they'll say the Quran, and somebody will say the Prophet, and someone will say Islam, and someone will say the Minhaj, right? None of them are wrong. All of them are right. But sometimes there's a more comprehensive definition that will cover all of that inside of one word. Like, for instance, Islam will cover the Quran and Prophet Muhammad and this and this and that. So sometimes, we're asking for his definition. It's 3 words, or someone could say maybe 4, right? Because one of them's a pronoun, so I'm helping you, right? Ifradallahi bil ibadah. That's 4 words if you count the ba as being separate. Ifradallahi bil ibadah. At-tawheed huwa ifradallahi bil ibadah. It's to single out Allah with worship. Now, a shirk, what is it? Inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow, Abu Sumayya gave us a good try, but tomorrow from the book, inshallah, 3, maybe 4 words, depending on how you want to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we're also going to keep memorizing these types of worship. That way we memorize the types of worship, and later on, when we go back, we memorize the ayat that it brings for every one of them, right? And then, before you know it, we memorize the book, and we have knowledge which Allah wants us to have of our religion, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah ta'ala.
Wa yakum. Allah yubarak fikum.
It's a good challenge you're giving us.
Yeah, inshallah. It's an easy one too, inshallah.
Even if it's difficult, it's worth it. That's the reason why we're Muslims. We have to know what we're really professing.
Right, inshallah. Allah yubarak fikum. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.